today we're on this podcast. It's the first time I really got to sit down and talk with him for 30 minutes or so. I guess we can say his name now. It's Ezra Firestone. If you don't know his name, where the hell have you been? Because essentially he is, in my view, he's the Tony Robbins of the e-commerce world without the banana hands, if you've ever seen Shallow Hal. He's very impressive. When he starts talking, you just sit back and listen and you go, what? Really? Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. He's so full of energy. He's so passionate about what he does that you would think that he works all the time. And that's kind of the takeaway from this podcast for me. There are lots of great insights to how to run a more effective e-commerce business and different channels and philosophies that someone like Ezra applies. And look, he's doing $30 million a year in revenue and growing month over month and does incredible things. He does not get out of bed. Well, I shouldn't say bed. He does not start his day until 10 o'clock in the morning. And that doesn't mean he works until 10 o'clock at night. He works maybe till 5 o'clock, unless he's out doing events like he's going to be at Blue Ribbon Mastermind next week, which is just incredible. Doing $30 million a year in revenue and not working 40 hours a week. Really impressive guy. Hey folks, it's Joe Valley from the Quiet Light Podcast, and today I have Ezra Firestone on the line with me. Hey Ezra, how you doing?
Woo! Happy to be here, man. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I love doing stuff like this.
So glad to have you here. We've been to a couple of events together. I've been to yours, Smart Marketer, and Blue Ribbon Mastermind, but we've never had a half hour to talk to each other. So I'm loving the fact that I got your crew to schedule this. So thank you first and foremost. I know you're a busy guy. As I mentioned earlier, we don't do the fancy introduction. So for those that don't know who you are, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, that'd be fantastic.
Sure. Thanks. I am currently sitting in a presidential cabinet room. So that's my current location in the world. But
for those listening, not watching, get on, look.
Get on, take a look. This is actually an office. My wife and I bought 76 acres of land about 20 minutes from here that we're intending to sort of develop and build a home on and have kids on and stuff. And we're renting this home. And the person who lived here before was like some kind of a lawyer or something. And this room, it's all cabinets. And for me, for some reason, that is confronting. Like, I don't know why, but I walk into this, it's in my office and I love it. I love that I have a space where I can work, but all the cabinetry like kind of freaks me out because it's very not my vibe. So I'm like putting in plants. I've got like a skateboard over here, I'm kind of trying to make it feel a little less intense, Anyways, a little bit about me business-wise is I never went to college. I went straight from high school to New York City to play poker for a living, which I did really well as a teenager and into my early 20s. It was really fun, but eventually I sort of came across the concept of not trading time for money and began looking at building systems to generate revenue and resource for me without my direct time input all the time, and sort of fell into e-commerce. Because, e-commerce was really coming up in society at that time. We're talking 2004, 2005, 2006. Those were my first years in e-commerce. And I've been fortunate enough to grow up in this industry. And this was a time before events and before podcasts and before this industry was, everyone, when you said you were an internet marketer, thought you were like into porn or gambling.
That's right.
It was like not looked at as a good thing, And so long story short is I've been doing e-commerce full time for about 13 years. I have grown and sold several companies. I currently have 4 different brands that generate about $25 million a year in revenue and 70 employees on my team around the country. And I'm just some random guy who loves this stuff. I really, really love it. And I think timing wise, I came into it at the right time and fell in love with it at the right time and have been putting my full energy, attention in the direction of online businesses and e-commerce in particular, physical products. Although I do have other business models, e-commerce is my most successful model over the last decade.
That's impressive. First and foremost, the fact that you didn't go to college and you went right to life and you professional poker player. I don't tell my kids this. As I mentioned before, I've got 2 boys, almost 15 and 17. Some of the most successful people I know didn't go to college. One of the guys I worked with up in Portland, Maine, Rob Graham, if you're listening, absolutely one of the most successful people I know. And he got it. He worked hard. He was smart. He used common sense and intelligence, which you have to have a combination of. So kudos to you.
Thanks, man. By the way, you can't give me too much credit for that decision. There were no colleges that would take me, was my problem. I mean, I just didn't fit the mold. I sort of always had this idea, I had an alternative lifestyle. I grew up in an intentional community in the Bay Area of California with flower children, hippie parents. And so I kind of had some alternative views on life from my upbringing. And one of them was that, the school system really felt like a system that was farming me into a model into a workforce that I didn't want to join. Sit at a desk for 8 hours a day, and then you'll be trained to go sit at a cubicle 8 hours a day. And I believe that in life, you get what you want from people who have it. That's how you find someone like you, Joe, and you learn about how to sell businesses from someone who is doing that. And I've always sort of believed in that apprenticeship model. And I looked around at college. I mean, I attempted to get in, nobody would take me, but there was like nothing there for me. There was nothing, the teachers didn't have anything that I wanted. I couldn't really see a future for myself there. And I was a very good hustler. I always had little businesses, and I was the guy at school. I always had, we don't have to go into those stories, but I always had something going on to make money, because we weren't rich. We grew up without much means. And I always had this goal of generating resource so that I could use it for causes that I found noble, like taking care of my family and taking care of my community, and participating in the world in ways that you can only do when you have access to resources. And so I always kind of had my attention on that, and fell into entrepreneurship sort of because of that.
So if people are reading in between the lines and the threads and lines here, we've got somebody that you use the word hustle. I think the harder you work, the luckier you get. You take from people who have it. In other words, you associate from or with people that can help you, and you're in turn helping them. It's never a one-sided
Totally.
coin, I would think. And the noble cause is giving back. I have to ask though, when you give the visual of 76 acres that you and your wife have bought, you're going to build a home and whatnot. Just what state are we talking about? I keep hearing New York and Hawaii, but I think you're up in New York.
Yeah, so I live in upstate New York now, about 2 hours north of the city, and I grew up in Hawaii and California. Moved to New York at 18 to play poker, and just fell in love with the East Coast. Met my wife when I was 20, and this is kind of where our life is and where our community is and our friends are, and just sort of I'm a big fan. I love it. It's a really, really good place. I mean, yeah, we got our problems. We got ticks and we got the winter, and like there are things, but it's like anywhere you go, there's going to be stuff.
Well, you can have your events in the southern regions of the country so that you can get out of New York when it's 10 degrees and 18 inches of snow out there. Talk to me about that transition that you had from, online poker or playing poker up in New York's not cutting it, and you wanted to, step into the e-commerce world. Was there a day, a moment, a person that you met that made a difference and you said, okay, this is the path. I think I'm going to try it?
Totally. I think that entrepreneurs in general are chasing some form of freedom, financial freedom, location freedom, freedom of where they can spend their time, and they're running away from pain in general. And then you kind of reach different levels of entrepreneurship that I'll talk about in a minute, as I've gone through all the phases of I started, my wife didn't like the idea of me being out all night, sleeping all day under fluorescent lights with a bunch of degenerates just eating Butterfingers and just being like a New York City underground poker scene guy. I mean, that is not an attractive package. So she wasn't too excited about that. So I took what I call a square job, where it was one of my first ever jobs, where I actually worked for someone else running this yoga studio in Manhattan. And this was at a time when Bikram yoga was still in its heyday. It just kind of we're talking 2007, I was running this studio. It was the biggest Bikram yoga studio in Manhattan. I was the manager, the youngest manager. I was 21. I ran the whole thing. And this was before everyone found out that Bikram was a creep and a rapist, and the whole kind of Bikram thing fell apart. It was sort of as yoga was going mainstream in society. And that was a really fun gig, being in service, in a role of service, running this studio. But man, I would be there 60 hours a week. And I didn't like not having the not being able to have choice in where my time was spent. And so that was the initial sort of pain point that pushed me towards, man, the poker gig was better than this because I had more flexibility of where I got to put my attention. And I think that in life, what you put your attention on grows, and what you ignore gets smaller. If you put your attention on your health, it gets better. If you ignore your health, it gets worse. If you put your attention on your relationship, it gets better. If you ignore it, it gets worse. Like, just where you're directing your attention is everything. And I think that really, as a human being, the skill set that you want to develop is the skill set of mastery, which is simply the willingness to put your attention in one area consistently over time. Pick up the instrument for 30 minutes a day. After a month, you're better at it. It's a willingness to place attention and direct it consistently over time. And I think that, so I kind of was playing poker for a living, and I met a guy. Now, this guy was a really fascinating guy, and he was a coach and a coach of coaches before coaching was mainstream. So now you know about relationship coaches, health coaches, life coaches, business coaches. Coaching has really penetrated society as a mainstream concept. Back in 04, 05, 06, it really was not that big. And this guy was an early life coach. He'd started the International Coaching Federation, one of these things he'd started that was a life coaching sort of governing body. And the thing about coaching is there is no real governing body. Any schmo off the street can call themselves a coach and start charging. And that is both good and bad, right? You end up with access and to opportunity for people, but also some people are schmucks and not so good at it, or they're selling you, stuff, they're not qualified. But anyways, long story short, this guy that we're talking '05, he was selling business opportunity information products, ebooks, digitally delivered courses, DVD sets, and these were how to become a life coach, how to start a life coaching business, how to make your own money and have a practice as a life coach. And the way that he generated visibility for this offer was with search engine optimization, which was the traffic source of the day for internet businesses. You would rank on Google and you would buy query-based traffic from Google AdWords. When someone typed in a search query like how to make money, he would show up. And so I taught him how to play poker, and he taught me search engine optimization. And that was like my first foray into, this guy worked from his laptop. He was making a bunch of money. And I was like, man, his life and his production cycle is a much more effective production cycle than mine. If we're looking at, like, we're both have the goal of generating wealth. The way he is doing it is far more appealing than the way I'm doing it, sitting behind a desk, selling people water and coconut water and being yelled at about how we don't have any towels. Like, this was like, your hustle is smarter, man. You got to teach me this, So I taught him how to play poker. He taught me search engine optimization. I ended up taking over his business and running this life coaching information product business, learning about things like, landing page optimization and conversion rate optimization, sales webinars and product launches and upsells, and just like traditional direct response internet marketing as it relates to the sale of information. And this was really where I cut my teeth as a marketer, and I loved that business. It was a lot of fun. And ultimately, once I had developed the skill set of the ability to generate visibility for an offer, which was not that hard back then. It was buying AdWords and doing article marketing, link building, and SEO. I thought to myself, man, selling information is wonderful, but it's got a couple downsides, which is you're reliant on a single influencer. You only have as much value as the next month's cash. You can't sell the thing. It's not an asset. It's a cash flow business by its very nature, because it's built around, in general, a particular persona, and you can't ever sell that. And there's a number of reasons why I wanted a different model. And I tried a whole bunch of them. I had a 7-figure services agency. I currently run a multi-7-figure software as a service business. I did coaching and consulting. I did development for people. I've done all kinds of models. And e-commerce appeals to me as the number one model, and has been my most successful model and the model that I've enjoyed most for a number of reasons. And I'll go through those now. I don't know if this is the answer to your question. I'm kind of rambling. Can I tell you about why I like e-commerce?
Keep going, please. I love this.
So if you look at the 3 main areas that result in a business's success. Now, I will determine a business at scale as a business that's doing between $500,000 and $1 million a year and has at least 3 employees and consistent processes. I'm going to label that as, air quotes, scale. So being someone who has run probably 10 different business models, affiliate marketing. I've done everything in the last 15 years or so at scale. E-commerce is my favorite for a number of reasons. When you look at what I believe to be the three things that you've got to have in place to scale a business, there's the first one is product, right? You need supply chain. You need the ability to produce this product at scale in a way that is not going to take over your life. So if you look at e-commerce, I literally sell tubs of goo. Okay, this is not a tub of goo. This is a stick of goo, but basically it's a plastic stick. There's some goo in it. I mean, and you can see here on the visual, this is very, very good goo. It's handmade goo.
Looks like fantastic, all natural goo.
Yeah, it's really, really good. But it's like, I got a tub and I got some goo and I got some labels, right? At scale, I buy more tubs, I mix more goo, and I have more labels. Now let's look at product and supply chain at scale for software as a service, which I also sell at scale. Software as a service, I need front-end engineers, back-end engineers, QAs. I need to actually be creating new code and updating the product and integrations all the time. Like the product is morphing every single week. It's not the same product. It changes every week. And then whatever I change breaks. And then once I develop the product, I have to document what I did for the people who are actually using it. And then I have to train. And now we move into the second pillar, support, right? So you have product. You want to ask me something about product?
I want to point out that the products that you have in your hand also, they get used up and reordered and auto shipped. So it's I think a key differentiator between selling a water bottle, little plug there for
smart marketer, all right,
versus a tub of goo.
Consumable is, I mean, obviously subscription-based revenue, things that are consumed is really, really phenomenal. I mean, if you look at information marketing, the beauty of the product side of selling information is you create it once and then you don't have any more cost of goods, right? Every time I need to buy another one of these, it costs me $6. When I create an informational course, I create it once and I can continue to sell it. But the product goes bad after about 6 months to a year because it's outdated information. It's not self-help. I mean, I sell very specific, here's how you run Facebook ads, and that needs to be updated every 6 months. So it's very hard to keep that product up to date. Services, I struggled with the product side of setting boundaries. I had a multi-seven-figure consulting agency doing advertising for e-commerce businesses back in 2009. And my problem was always around, where does the service end? People would ask me for more. I would then do it. Like I just I wasn't good at boundaries. And so I found that product very hard to fulfill on, in as much as I had a very hard time. And this is maybe not other people's issues. I had boundary issues, and therefore I failed as a services agency. I mean, I did well, but like the model was not super profitable because I could not figure out how to set boundaries. So as far as the product goes, e-commerce has been the easiest one to scale without my direct involvement. And I'm looking for the ability to generate wealth and resource and have the most pleasurable model possible. And when you look at the most pleasurable models to run, for me, it's e-commerce. Let's talk about the support side, right? Because as your business scales, you have to engage with and support your customers. And with software as a service, those support people need to be very high level. They need to understand the software at the highest level and be able to talk to customers about it. It's way more intense than support for e-commerce, where it's like, what's in the product? Can I get a refund? You know what I mean? Like the support is not anywhere near as high level for e-commerce. So if you look at, I have a $1.5 million a year in annual recurring revenue software as a service business that I launched about 24 months ago. It'll do about maybe $2 million this year, actually, in 2017. But point is, that business at $2 million a year has, double the amount of employees that Boom does at $20 million a year. Double the amount of employees at only $2 million a year, because I need more people for the product, i.e. front end, back end, engineers, QA people, project managers. I need more support people for the number of customers than I do for Boom. So support is something that you have to figure out. And support on the agency side, if you're running an agency, is very difficult because you got to get on the phone, you got to talk to people, you got to show them results. You're the punching bag when things don't go well. It's very difficult to do services well. And on the support side, it can be really tough. So support for e-commerce is difficult, or is easiest for me in my experience of every model that I've been involved in. And then the one thing that e-commerce requires is marketing. Every other model requires marketing as well. That's sort of the third pillar, right? Product, support, so supply chain, support, and marketing. I mean, really, this is like what we're doing at the end of the day. There's other stuff, but like everything kind of is an offshoot of one of those. So the marketing side, which is storytelling, sales funnels, content, copywriting, social media, all this kind of stuff is what I excel at. That's my real specialty. It's one of the reasons why every model that I've engaged in, I've done some kind of well at, because I understand how to comment on a collective experience. And so this is my frame for it. I feel like every business that I have is serving a particular group of people who are having a collective experience. And my goal as a marketer is to comment on that experience in a way that resonates with that particular group of people who's having that experience, and then push them in the direction of my products ultimately. And so, example, this product line is sold to women over 50 who are all having the experience of aging, and everyone telling them that that is wrong. That's the group of people, and that's the collective experience they're having. And then I comment on that with my marketing. And so that, for me, is the same with every business. Every business requires the same kind of marketing: creating videos, amplifying them via advertising, creating sales funnels and technology stacks that push people through a 60 to 90-day sales cycle with retargeting. And then once they buy, having content marketing and engagement to keep their attention, and then upsells and cross sells after they've consumed the content post-purchase, all that kind of stuff. And so, since that is what I excel at, is the marketing side. And then I'm looking for, okay, and some people struggle with that, but that just happens to be my particular skill set. The model that I am most in love with, and I think is the easiest to run at scale, is physical product e-commerce, because the supply chain is easy and the support is easy, and marketing is the same level of difficulty as any other business at scale.
That's a good point. I never thought of it. I was at a mastermind a year and a half ago. Someone got up on stage, talked about importing from China, and she went into such detail about how important it is to determine the thickness of the corrugated box when you're importing from China, for when it's on that container ship, when it gets to UPS, when it gets to the fulfillment center and all of it. I got to tell you, I practically fell asleep and said to myself, I never, ever want to own physical products e-commerce business again.
Don't import from China. I don't.
Don't import from China. I didn't. I had nutritional supplements, and it's all US based. So I think it's the ideal business model, if you're in e-commerce, is something with a consumable product, recurring revenue that is manufactured here in the United States.
I would agree. And I would also argue that if you look at e-commerce, you might as well go premium, because there's buyers for every level of the market. Let's say you have supplements that cost $10 a bottle versus supplements that cost $90 a bottle. I'm always going to sell the $90 a bottle. The reason is it's about the same level of difficulty to generate the sale. And if you go premium, you have much more margin that you can then reinvest back into better product, better support, and better marketing. And so, I fall more and more, and you look at the companies that are scaling, Purple Mattress, a lot of these companies have discovered, Allbirds shoes, for example. They're $5 a pair, cost them like $10. They got $80 in margin to spend on growing the brand. So I really believe in premium, consumable, and it doesn't have to necessarily be consumable, but line expansion. So if you are selling water bottles, also have water bottle coolers, and you know what I mean? Like, you gotta go expand the line, but
an expansion of that line that is something that can be shipped on a continuity basis.
Yeah, ideally, for sure. I mean, listen, I don't sell subscription. There's no subscription in my brand, though 40% of my revenue comes from repeat customers.
So why the choice not to sell subscription?
Well, you don't necessarily need to actually have someone on a credit card ding every month to have a high level of repeat business. All you have to have is really good marketing. And my particular demographic is afraid of subscription, in as much as they've experienced a whole bunch of people not letting them off subscription when they get on subscription. So I get all questions every day, like, is this subscription? Can I cancel my subscription? People don't want to feel obligated. They want to come back and buy when they want to buy. And my viewpoint is that you can have, and my experience is that you can have a recurring business model without actually having people on subscription programs, like I do with this product, if your products are
and that product in your hand, and this is from experience, not everyone's going to go through that product in the same amount of time. And so that 30-day renewing charge to the credit card is going to be too quick for some, just right for others, and too long for others. So you're an expert at reaching out to them and giving them what they need. Is, hey, it's time to reorder, click reorder. That's your, instead of auto shipment, you're reaching out to them with, I would assume, an automated email campaign or through Messenger or something like that.
Well, we do consistent, ongoing content. So we're always sending out videos and articles. And so we generate a lot of revenue just from sending people back to our website
You
to
mean
consume
you're
content.
helping customers, right?
Yeah, we're adding value to their lives by commenting on the conversations that they're already having.
So to the newbies out there, listen to that, adding value to their lives by, helping them with the information that they have and making their lives better. That
And
ideal marketing right there.
every 6 weeks we run a sale event.
Every
And I would
6 weeks.
say about 70% of our revenue from repeats comes from those sale events every 6 weeks, but those sale events and 30% comes from just the random content emails. Those sale events work a lot better when the audience is engaged in ongoing content. So then when we do ask them to buy something, they've been hearing from us, they've been engaged with our content, they've seen our videos on Facebook in their feeds that are just, interesting, fun videos that are about beauty and health and stuff like that. And then they see, oh, they're having a sale. I like these people. I know these people. I engage with their content every now and again. So the ongoing content strategy actually acts as a supporter of our ongoing sales. And when you do the sales every 6 weeks without the ongoing content, they don't work anywhere near as well.
It's almost like you just said, how do I help more people, not how do I sell more product?
I mean, I want to do both, but yes.
By doing the first, you're doing the second.
Totally.
So it's more of a mature, seasoned approach to growing a brand where you're helping more people and generating more revenue. That's the end result. And I'm saying this in a way that sometimes I see businesses from, all shapes and sizes. We're doing 4 to 5 valuations a week, and there's a team of 8 of us here at Quilight. And so we see a lot of different variations of businesses, and the toughest ones to sell are those that are just trying to make a quick buck. They've built a little slap their brand on it, and they're getting it out there, and they're going to get eaten up alive by guys like you in time. They can make a little dent, but it's not going to last. What you're doing is something that I think is going to last, and eventually will build a much bigger value and someday have, a lifetime, if you ever choose to, a lifetime event sale where you can say, okay, I'm done. I don't really ever need to work again. But it sounds like you're full of passion.
Look, man,
probably be working for a long time.
Yeah, I feel like if you like what you're doing and you're enjoying it and you have nice balance, because the problem that most entrepreneurs experience at some point, and I can recognize this from across the room at an event, and everyone goes through it at some point in the entrepreneurial journey, or at least my experience has been that everyone I've talked to, and I talk to thousands of entrepreneurs, have gotten to this place at some point, which is burnout. Yeah. They're overwhelmed, overstimulated. They've taken on too much responsibility, and they feel at the mercy, shackled to their production cycle, shackled to their business operation. And my big transformation in the last 2 years has been going from driver to navigator. So, I spent my career driving on the road, taking the turns, doing everything. And as I've scaled, I've seen that really, like, my most valuable skill set is that of the person who navigates the ship. If you're on the road making the turn, you can't see the mountains in the distance. And so at some point you have to make the transition, or at least part-time the transition, to person who is setting strategy, who is reviewing what's going on, who's going out and meeting new people and bringing in deal flow, who's actually like holding the container and the vision for the operation, and then reviewing what the team is doing and delegating responsibility and giving autonomy and freedom to the people around you to step up into roles like lead copywriter or lead advertiser or lead project manager, or all the stuff that you might be doing yourself. And I think that when you are able to do that, it affords you the ability to relax a little bit and kind of have a little bit more space for your business. The other thing I will say that people don't do enough of is set real clear boundaries around their work life. Because as an entrepreneur, particularly as an internet entrepreneur, your business is with you at all times. I have my cell phone in my hand, but if this is my wallet. Mm-hmm. Just always with you. And so you don't end up with separation between your life and your business. And when you look at the people who are burned out, you find that, they've been ignoring their bodies and their health. They've been ignoring their relationships and their intimacy and their connection and their social life and their hobbies. They've been ignoring like the home front. Like, it's the burnout stems from lack of balance between production cycle and other cycles. And work will fill the time that you give it. It really will. It will fill whatever time that you give it. So I don't actually put my attention on work until about 10 a.m. and I stop around 5:30 or 6. That's my time frame. I wake up, I move my body, I meditate, I hang out with my wife, we have breakfast, we do our little morning thing. It's super fun. A couple hours in the morning where I'm just partying and having fun. And then I start on my work day and I'll work for a couple hours, then I'll have lunch, I'll put in a couple more hours, and then I'll stop. And that'll be it. And I'll enjoy my evening. And like, I do that 4 solid days a week, sometimes 5. And sometimes I don't work at all, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Sometimes I do. And it's like, you might think, oh, like my business is too crazy, I can't actually do that. I promise you, if you do not start working until 10 and you stop at 6, everything that is important to get done, you will get done. And that's so much freaking time. That is your whole life, man. 10 to 6, 4 days a week. It's like you are asking too much of yourself if you're trying to put more of that into your production cycle. And look, I understand that sometimes you got to run 14 hours a day for 4 weeks in a row because you're doing a product line. It's like, okay, cool. But it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Not
and if you try to sprint this thing, you're going to fail. And I can tell you that as someone who has gone through the stages of entrepreneurship, from working off the couch with a full-time job, moonlighting the business, to now running an 8-figure set of brands with 70 team members and a lifestyle that I really, really enjoy. Like, I've been there. And you really, if you don't set the boundaries and you don't set the container, it will not exist. And the work will permeate your entire existence, and you will have no separation from it, and you will have no relaxation and no space. And a lot of times your best ideas come when you're not working, when you have space and you're enjoying yourself. It's like, it is necessary to scale, to set constraints around your work life. And people are unwilling to do this because they feel it will be a detriment to their success. But actually, in my experience and the experience of everyone who has done this that I know, it works the opposite.
You have a lot of folks that come from the corporate world, when they're putting in 50, 60 hours a week, traveling all over the world, and they just want to get out of the rat race, and they want to be an entrepreneur, and they buy an online e-commerce business, and they feel like they need to put in 40, 50, 60 hours a week. And I say, look, the guy that you're buying it from has been working 15 hours a week. You've got some learning to do. So just, maybe cap it at 25, but don't work to the point where you're trying to fix things that are not broken. Just learn, go to events, go to Smart Marketer, things like that. You just don't have to work that much. And you've worked so hard that it's time to take care of your own health and wellness as well.
And I think that totally. And like, hey, go for it. Put in a full 8-hour a day or 10-hour a day, multi-work weeks as you're getting into the game. But like, at least have the goal of setting some boundaries and containers around your work life, because you will be a happier person. And like, what is the point of all of this? Is the point just wealth creation? Because mine certainly is not. I would love to generate as much resource, and I'm using resource as a lingo word to describe generating wealth, so that I can then direct that resource towards causes that I find noble. Take care of my community where I grew up, take care of my family, provide a lifestyle for my wife that she's really excited about in our family, do other things in the world that have meaning to me, like, saving lands and all kinds of stuff. So not a lot of people have figured out how to generate resource. Everyone is failing at this. Everyone thinks that success is the goal, and they're running in the direction of success, and most people are failing at it, and most people are miserable. And it's like, the goal, fun is a much less popular but more fulfilling goal than success. So if you can figure out how to have fun and enjoy yourself, which means setting fucking boundaries around your work life and having hobbies and having a social life and taking care of your body, you will have more success. You're guaranteed to be a winner if you're chasing a good time and fun. You're not guaranteed to have fun if you chase success. So it's like, what the hell is the point? What are you doing, person? I want to grab you by the shoulders and smack you around and say, listen, stop it. Focus on enjoying your life. And yes, obviously focus on the production cycle and the success.
Right. We're not talking about being poor and happy. We're talking about a combination of both, which
that's right.
You have, which are successful businesses with recurring revenue models and a very happy and healthy home life. I think it's amazing that you really generally don't start work until 10 unless you're out at an event or sponsorship or something like that. And then you're walking away. Do you actually put that device down and walk away, that phone that's in your hand?
Oh yeah. There's no phones in the bedroom, dude. Turn off the computers, get off the digital medium. You're shackled to it, man. You're on it all day, every day. Like, give yourself a freaking break, and all of a sudden you feel better and life is better. And you hop on in the morning and you respond to the emails and the Slacks, and then you start creating. I kind of use my morning time for my creation, strategy, content. I create a lot in the morning, and then like throughout the rest of the day, I'm at a place in my business now where I have a lot of reviewing and talking to people about what's going on. And like, my job is a lot of like sort of directing, hey, okay, yeah, this is good, let's move it over here. Like,
Yeah.
I'm doing a lot of like kind of holding and sort of directing things. And if you don't have the visual of my hands, it's hard to see this, but and that I find is so easy to do in the later parts of the day. And in the early parts of the day, I do my creation. That's kind of
Creation as in you might, what does that mean? You're
well, creation as in like for
developing
me,
content. What is it? Yeah.
yeah. Well, for me, it's like thinking about marketing campaigns,
Okay.
looking at strategy, thinking about what we should be doing, thinking like anything that involves thinking of new stuff or doing new stuff, or like, I do a lot of, for my SaaS business and my information marketing business, I do a lot of content creation and blog videos and webinars and sales videos and writing scripts. And I do a lot of creating things and also creating strategies. And I find that that is easiest for me in the early parts of the day. And then in the later parts of the day, reviewing stuff that other people did, talking to them about it, directing things is a little bit, it doesn't require as much focus. I mean, it's still focused, but it's not like I don't have to be fully locked in. I can kind of be doing other stuff and,
Gotcha. Hey, you mentioned the word meditation there. I want to jump right into that, if you don't mind. Just, are you up and meditating every day? Did you read a number of books? Been doing it for a lifetime, I would imagine, based upon the way you grew up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this hippie commune that I grew up on was not what you think of. It wasn't like crunchy granola. Everyone meditated, and we didn't have animals. It was very different than what you think. It wasn't one of these places where you had to subscribe to some ideology to be a part of it, right? A lot of these intentional communities, in order to get in them, you have to you have to hold a certain set of viewpoints. I describe the difference between an intentional community and a cult in these ways, because a lot of people are like, oh, you grew up in a cult. Like, it's a group of, anytime you get a group of people living somewhere with different viewpoints, people call it a cult, right? So let me give you my description for this. From my perspective, a cult is something that is easy to join and hard to leave, right? An intentional community is something that is very hard to join and very easy to leave, right? It's like hard to get into the party. And then if you want to go at any time, you get out of here. That's sort of the difference between those two models. And particularly in the place I grew up, it wasn't like built around hey, you must believe these things to live here. It was like a bunch of hippies who sort of wanted to step away from traditional mainstream society and focus on how to live pleasurably in a group and do cool things like run charities. And I mean, there was definitely some alternative viewpoints, and they definitely, teach courses on things like, communication and relationships and all kinds of stuff. It's a really, really cool place, but meditation was not like a part of my life as a kid. I was just like, I went to high school, normal school. I was a normal kid. I just went home to a different place than most people. I didn't go home to the suburbs. So, I kind of came across meditation through my wife. She was a yoga teacher when I met her, and she was all into these sort of Eastern philosophies and stuff. And we go through phases where we will be meditating 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes at night, and then we won't do it for a couple months. And we kind of like, I think that people think that they're failing if they don't stick to their routines. And it's like, routines are meant to be broken. Part of the fun of having a routine is breaking it and coming back to it. It's like, the goal is not to just do the same thing all the time. You notice if you work out and you do the same workout over and over, your body gets used to it. So we go through phases where we'll do it a lot and then we won't do it that much. I do find that when we are doing it, I feel better, I feel clearer, and I like it. And, when we restart, we'll start with just like 10 minutes in the morning, and then maybe like 15 minutes, then maybe like 20 minutes. And I actually found these really cool meditation seats on Amazon. They're like a tiny little like plank with a cushion on it and two short little legs, and you kneel on them. And man, they've been awesome because they keep you upright. But yeah, I like meditation. I'm a fan of it. And I think that really it's less about the specific formula that you subscribe to and more about the intention to take time for yourself and take care of yourself. Have a bath in the evening, pay attention to what you're putting into your body, move your body. It's like, it's more about the intention of wellness rather than the particular formula that you are subscribing to for wellness, has been my experience with it, right?
Yeah.
Because different strokes for different folks, man. Different shit works for different people. So
Absolutely. Hey, we're running a little short on time, but I think I could talk to you for another hour and a half. But I want to talk quickly about the helping that you do in terms of the smart marketer, because the people out there listening, they've heard you mention a few different things. I first met you at the Smart Marketer Conference in Austin last year. was just at Blue Ribbon with you in Denver, which is your mastermind group. And then I think you're going to Capitalism next week in Austin as well.
Brand Builders, are you coming?
Brand Builders, yes, we'll be there as well.
Maybe we could actually talk to each other in person. So.
I know. How about that? That'd be awesome, wouldn't it? But, with Smart Marketer, Mark actually bought your Facebook program. But I'm constantly talking to people about what they're doing within their e-commerce businesses and where to go and what resources to look at. Can you just talk briefly in terms of what you do and what programs you have in there and what resources are available for those people that are listening that are e-commerce folks that want to grow their businesses, but at the same time do it in a shorter day like yours is?
For sure. Let me introduce to you the concept of permaculture. Are you familiar with that concept, permaculture? It's a farming term.
No.
And what it means, what kind of the high level meaning is to reuse all of your resources to their greatest benefit. So capture the rainwater, water the garden, take the chicken shit, use it for your compost, reuse of resources. So I spend all of my time with my focus on innovation in the direction of e-commerce. And I do a really good job at it. And then with Smart Marketer, I document whatever is working and I share that with my community of business owners through my free blog and through educational courses where I have, how we run Facebook ads or how we do conversion rate optimization on our website or how we run project management for our brand or how we run social media for our brand or whatever. I have all these different courses, but what they are is they're a direct documentation of what's worked for me and my brands. I then take the money that I make from Smart Marketer and I reinvest it back into the e-commerce businesses. And in my e-commerce businesses, I'm also developing software. I'm developing things to make them function better. So anything that works really well, I open source that and share it with my community of business owners in the form of software as a service. Any money that the software as a service brand makes, I dump back into e-commerce. So all of these things sort of work together. The e-commerce is the heart that pumps the blood to the information, which then takes revenue and puts it back into e-commerce, which then lets me do development, which then I use for my software as a service brand. So it kind of all works together. And Smart Marketer in particular is do and then document. And I only have two products. I have digitally delivered courses, digitally delivered educational courses in the forms of videos, PDFs, and handwritten notes on what they are that teach you the things that I have found to be most effective. Paid amplification, how to run Google traffic and Facebook traffic to your website. Project management, how to run your e-commerce business with systems and processes at scale and hire people. Social media, how to have ongoing content and engagement for people who've bought from you in the past. I have all these different courses. You can go to my website, but I've digitally delivered educational courses and I have a mastermind. The mastermind is only for $1 million sellers, basically. If you're doing 500 grand minimum, most people are doing 5 million, 10 million, et cetera. Then this group is for the high achievers, the people who've really made it. It's a more intimate, intense program where it's like, very high level, 100 people all really kicking butt. So I have that mastermind and I have the digitally delivered courses. And that's all Smart Marketer is. It's just my personal journey being documented and open sourced for business owners. And thankfully for me, I think, again, timing was a big issue, a big thing here. I was the first, I was the kind of first e-commerce influencer, in as much as I started a blog about my e-commerce journey before people were doing it really, and it got real popular early on. And I've kind of continued to put energy towards it because I love doing it and feel really fortunate that people care about what I have to say. It's like really awesome that people want to hear this stuff, because for me, it's like, you have to be a total nerd to be interested in this. It's like kind of dry content. It's not dry, but it's like, if you're not into internet businesses, you're not going to be interested in this blog. I mean, yeah, I talk about relationships and lifestyle and stuff like that too, and that's fun. But I think that like the real sort of core base of subscribers are internet business owners, e-commerce business owners. And so that's that model.
That's fantastic. I'm always impressed when you speak. I'm always impressed with your energy, your enthusiasm, and the fact that you're really, really trying to help people more than anything else. And it comes back to you. It's not like you're doing it for free and whatnot, that you're not trying to earn a living for you and your family and whatnot. It obviously you are, but you do it in a manner that is beneficial to others, and it comes back to you, which I commend you for.
And serve the world unselfishly and profit. That's my motto in business.
And you came on here not even knowing fully what we were going to talk about. It wasn't to pitch Smart Marketer or any of your services. Really, it was to talk about work-life balance, which you laid out very, very well. I love your journey. I love your approach. I love your philosophy. And I'm really hoping that people will go back and listen to this again and actually read the article that'll be produced from it as well, so they can really hone in on what you do and focus on it, and maybe get out to see you at some of these events that you put on, and get the smart marketer and get better at what they do. So
thanks, man. And I'll totally share this. Let me know when it comes out. I'll put it out on my.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. We'll put it down and put all the details on how to reach you and how to reach your courses and whatnot down in the show notes. And I will reach you when we've got it wrapped up and ready for the world to listen to it and watch it. And thank you for your time, Ezra. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Talk to you later.